right now seems to be a very precarious situation for gamers in general. And I say this as someone, again, as a person who's been gaming, since I was a kid, the 80s, and I find this to be a very bad situation. Now, to be fair, I got into gaming after, the NES had come out, and so it was kind of a different time. I mean, there was the gaming crash, and there's lots of reasons for the gaming crash. I know some of you might be younger, and so you don't fully understand what happened. But there's a lot of different contributing factors. It wasn't just, ET flopped or whatever. A lot of it had to do with there being just a lot of shovelware, a lot of bad games. There was no real quality to anything. People weren't really understanding why they should pay to upgrade certain consoles or whatever. It was like, the Atari 2600. People didn't understand why they had to buy a new console after a certain point. And so, that was a tough sell on people, and to be clear, kind of where we're at now, that's why Nintendo was able to do what they were able to do. They came out with the Nintendo Seal of Quality. They only allowed publishers to release a certain amount of games per year, and that was kind of locked in. So, you weren't able to get, just push slop out there. Now I think we're kind of back into that whole allowance slop. Like, anybody can publish a game and sell it. Hell, I've seen on PlayStation you can buy these things called jumping games, where you just push the button over and over, or hold down the button and it jumps, and that way it gives you a full platinum trophy. Or with Xbox, there's stuff that's similar to that, you know what I mean? But needless to say, there's a lot of slop involved, and game prices are going up, innovation is going down, competition is going down, and that kind of leads us in a really bad place. But I want to get into this because this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. What's up, everybody? I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. If you guys are looking for a something that is of a daily content variety, that's what I offer, and I'm very appreciative that you guys are able to do this, so thank you guys very, very much. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. This is one of those things that honestly is kind of crazy. It's just so interesting to see this kind of stuff come about now. People are very kind of upset about this, and it's like, who do you really blame for this? But anyway, it looks like Game Pass is probably going to go up in price very shortly. Microsoft Rewards re-adds to 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate ahead of what is coming out to be a price increase this month. So supposedly we were going to get a price increase of Game Pass Ultimate this month. Gaming is so much in flux. Look at how many studios are closing. Look at how many games are doing terrible. And I think we're ripe for just a total meltdown in the industry of epic proportions if something doesn't change. But back in February, it was highlighted how some Microsoft Rewards users had received an email suggesting that the redeem prices for Game Pass might be going up in April, and here we are in April. Although that was saying that it was going to be April 20th or after. However, before then, an old option for redeeming 3 months for Game Pass has begun appearing in the redeem section, and it's worth still featuring the old price of 35,000 points for a level 2 member. This now means that you've once again got the option between 1 month of Game Pass and 3 months of Game Pass, and you can still take advantage of the auto redeem feature as well. It still remains to be seen whether we get a price increase on April 20th, but if we do, it seems like 1 month of Game Pass Ultimate could jump 12,000 points to at least 17,000 points, which would be crazy. These are the auto redeem prices that began appearing at some Microsoft Reward users a couple of months ago. Of course, it doesn't necessarily apply to every region. Still, some even have Microsoft Rewards yet, so just in case, it might, and it really might be worth redeeming those Game Pass subscriptions if you can. Kind of lock in now. It was only going to be a matter of time before these things started shooting up in price again, and it's unfortunate that it is happening the way that it is right now, but at the same particular point in time, you just have to kind of just shake your head. I mean, what else can you do about it? Now, I don't think that there's much that Microsoft is gonna people aren't gonna really say much. You have Sony they were the ones that sort of started charging, all this money for games, and now you have Nintendo jumping in board, $90 for a physical game, $80 for a digital game. It's really unprecedented times, and I think at some point people will say, oh, well, we have enough. It's just kind of crazy to think of this right now, you know what I mean? Again, anything can happen and we could see anything change, but yeah, I hope that Microsoft kind of thinks some of this stuff through at the end of the day. I would love to see Microsoft be able to offer better deals and things like that, because it's like right now it's already like $20 a month for consoles, which is insane if you think about it. It's already like $250 a year. Where's it going to stop? You look at stuff like Netflix, and that started off, I think I remember paying $8 a month for that at one point, and it was shipping you a DVD. You know what I mean? Like, that was crazy. You gotta, and then you could send the DVD back or whatever, and that was kind of crazy and interesting. And now it's like we're kind of in this weird world where all of this kind of stuff happens, and it's just not a fun thing to see like prices shoot up through the roof. Obviously there's no end game for when it comes to the prices paid, because Microsoft spends billions of dollars to get content, and it where does the line draw for being a good deal? I think that's going to be the big question going forward. Is just where is this going to kind of where we're going to see the end of this. That's going to be the real problem. And I hope that it's not $25. Some people say, oh well, maybe it'll just go up a couple more dollars, $22, $23, $24, $25. Where do you kind of draw the line at that? And I think that that's something that we all have to kind of just look at as kind of this crazy thing where it's really a strange situation that we find ourselves in. But Microsoft obviously has kind of the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. They kind of control their own destiny. They can kind of pull off whatever they want, as long as they want to, and it's up to them to kind of decide what to do. So for me anyway, I'm looking at things kind of going, it's a day at a time type of situation, and maybe Microsoft can pull a rabbit out of a hat and strike lightning strike twice or something there, you know what I mean? Because I think just continuing to raise Game Pass prices just because game prices are going up too, I think that those two kind of cancel each other out a little bit. And so you might have a situation where people, they go, oh well, I can't see myself paying $80 for a game, but you can see yourself paying $400 or $500 a year for a subscription that realistically you get nothing from it. I think that's going to be kind of the big problem going forward. So again, I think we're in a sort of a strange place right now in gaming in general, and maybe it's one that we get out of okay. That's the hope, honestly, at the end of the day. But we'll wait and see how these things work out. Again, I'm all for the positivity. I want to see gaming be positive. I want to see it be a good thing. I want to see gamers be happy again. I want to see, I know like we all tend to get on the negative side, but I would love to see like the positives from it. I would like to see competition back. I would like to see Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo all kind of vying for our dollars, and let the best company win. That's where you get the improvements. That's where you get the innovation. I keep telling people that, but they don't believe it. That's where you get all that stuff from. And with that being said, hopefully we don't get too much of a price hike. But I would just get ready for it and expect that to happen. It's bound to happen at some point. I'm sure these companies are all going to love justifying this through tariffs or whatever else they want to do. But for me, I look at it and I just say, this, is it inevitable? I don't know. I think maybe some of these companies are pushing for there to be no ownership of games, and hey, look, you can get these games cheaper if you just rent them through our thing. That way, you never own anything, and they're in complete control. And that's not a life for me in terms of video games. I still own my games from when I was a kid, and as long as I have a working console, I can just put them in and boom, good to go. And I think that companies actually hate that. So let me know what you guys think, though.